going on, everybody? This is not an analysis video. This is not me pitching you a D&D campaign. I just saw something I thought was neat, and I wanted to get my thoughts out about it because I do think it relates to the tabletop role-playing game hobby. And that is Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal, specifically Season 2. Now, I have been a fan of Nathan For You for quite a while, and I had seen the first season of The Rehearsal where Nathan has some similar reality show setups, but in doing these little role play activities, starts to find out things about himself and about other people. And it's a very interesting watch. Uh, I don't think I have any business to critique the show, but in general, would I recommend it? Maybe. It is the weirdest tone I think you'll experience this viewing year. There are debates online about whether the show is even a comedy anymore. It plays around with conscious reality TV elements in a really meta way. There are certainly funny moments, but there is a lot of bordering on philosophical um think pieces within the show. So you have to be in an interesting space to really turn it on. I think it might be a better watch alone at night in the dark than it is a group viewing experience. But it is certainly interesting and it will certainly get you thinking. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So, throughout Nathan For You, and especially the rehearsal, Nathan, as a performer and as a character, has difficulties with the presentation of self. What is real and what is the performance that we put on for other people. And this is a struggle that I've had myself, and I didn't really realize how much difficulty I had with presenting myself authentically until I was playing role-playing games and taking on different characters, in part as a player, but especially as a dungeon master, switching around different roles and having to play villains that are specifically there to cause harm to the characters at the table and cause difficulties to the real players, and playing friendly NPCs that are specifically there to fulfill a purpose of offering a helping hand mechanically and flavorfully. And in that regard, I think that role playing games are a bit like a rehearsal. I think that we can put ourselves in difficult situations within a safe space, the gaming table, and from that we can begin to think about what we might do in a similar situation. Now, there have been a lot more smarter people than I who have written about this. I hesitate to say phenomenon, but this interaction. D&D is played in prisons as a helpful tool and as a form of escapism. It is used in therapy sometimes, similar to something like playback theater, you know, engaging with our own stories and the aspects of ourselves portrayed through our characters and making connections through that. And it is especially talked about how Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games like it can be a safe space to explore uh, empathy, teamwork, and social emotional learning for folks who are neurodivergent or on the spectrum. And this is something I've had direct experience with in my D&D after schools and summer camps. We had a disproportionately large number of kids who had issues like this that they were trying to figure out whether they were officially diagnosed or whether the parent came to me and said, "Hi, my child has some eccentricities, some quirks," and I said, "Okay, we can work with this," and it is fascinating and rewarding to see how kids in particular can open up through their characters in a way that they struggle with in real life, because through a set role that they are playing within the structure and the rules of D&D, I think you can really discover and define this self that exists in the game, this character, and then you have the framework to start defining yourself, the player, outside of the game. Getting back to the rehearsal in particular, the tonal dissonance of the show that I think is very intentional by Nathan Fielder. So much of what he does is clearly intentional. I think that the tonal dissonance is mainly between the humor and the serious ideas. And when those two collide, Nathan kind of pulls back the fourth wall and reminds us that this is all a show. He shows us the metagame and forces us to engage with it. And that is not unsimilar to what I've done and what many dungeon masters have done through their games, trying to engage with serious themes and maybe introspective moments for the players to connect with their characters and each other, undercut by the humor and memes in fucking Dungeons and Dragons, as well as the metagame reality that these characters are scribbles on a character sheet. And I do think that is fascinating. I do think that is something to play more around with, and the rehearsal did make me think about that more. Now, my question to you is, have you seen the rehearsal, and how do you feel it connects to role-playing games? And can you question your role-playing game's character's relation to you? You don't have to mention that in comments. That's just something you can think about on your own. And for the game masters, the dungeon masters out there, why are you putting your party in certain situations? Is it because you want to see them overcome the struggle, or is it because you want them to reflect on something real and draw some conclusion or introspection from that? Thank you for joining me in this little True Sight thought space. Please leave your comments below. Watch the rehearsal season 2 and form your own opinion. Have a Nat 20 day. Bye-bye.